It's a good bounce back win for us today. I thought we started the game with the right tone on the defensive end, and so that was that was by design for us to get back to.
It is the announcement that shattered the internet and finally put to rest one of the most heated debates in sports history. But the reaction from the head coach is what has everyone talking, because after months of speculation, endless arguments on social media, and a rookie season that completely rewrote the record books, Caitlin Clark has officially made her way into the Team USA system. And the response from the coaching staff is complicated, to say the least. For a long time, the narrative was that she wasn't ready, that she had to wait her turn, and that the veterans had earned their spots through years of loyalty and grind. But when you look at the numbers, the ratings, and the undeniable talent on the floor, the decision-makers simply ran out of excuses, and the moment the news dropped, all eyes turned to Coach Cheryl Reeve. This is the same coach who had to field thousands of angry questions during the Paris cycle. The same coach who famously said that roster spots aren't given out based on fan bases. So what changed? And did the coaching staff have a genuine change of heart? Or was the pressure from the league, the sponsors, and the sheer undeniable dominance of Clark just too much to ignore? To understand the weight of this reaction, we have to look at the awkward reality of what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, and why this happy announcement might actually be the start of a massive internal power struggle within the world's greatest basketball dynasty. But before we analyze the coach's shocking new tone, we have to go back to the decision that almost broke women's basketball, because without understanding the snub, you cannot understand the victory. When the roster for the last major cycle was announced without Caitlin Clark's name on it, the backlash was unlike anything USA basketball had ever seen, because usually roster snubs are a one-day story where a veteran gets left off, people complain, and then everyone moves on. But this was different. Because this wasn't just about a player, it was about a movement, and Clark had just finished the most watched college career in history and was single-handedly selling out arenas in the WNBA, yet the committee decided she was not essential for the mission. The official line was about experience and chemistry, and they told us that the international game is different, more physical, and that a rookie, no matter how talented, couldn't just walk onto the greatest team in the world and expect meaningful minutes, which sounded logical on paper. But to the fans, it felt like gatekeeping, and it felt like the old guard protecting their turf against the new face of the sport. Rumors started flying immediately that certain veteran players had whispered in the ears of the selection committee, hinting that bringing Clark along would turn the Olympics into a media circus that would distract from the team's goal of winning gold. And whether those rumors were true or not, the perception was reality for millions of fans who saw a league that seemed resentful of its own savior. The snub created a massive divide with Clark fans on one side and WNBA loyalists on the other, but while the internet was burning down, Caitlin Clark did the only thing she knows how to do, which was go to work. And what happened next is exactly why the committee had no choice but to reverse course. The revenge tour wasn't loud because Clark didn't go on podcasts and trash the coach or post cryptic messages on Instagram. She just stepped onto the court and started tearing the league apart after a rough start, where she was getting blitzed and picked up full court every single game she adjusted. And once she adjusted, it was over for the doubters. She broke the rookie assist record, she broke the rookie scoring record, and she dropped triple-doubles like they were nothing, while turning the Indiana Fever, a team that had been living in the lottery for years, into a legitimate playoff squad. And every single argument that was used to keep her off Team USA was dismantled piece by piece. They said she couldn't handle the physicality. Well, she got knocked down and got up every time. And they said her defense was a liability. But she started picking pockets and reading passing lanes better than vets who had been in the league for a decade, and they said her efficiency would drop, but she started shooting from the logo with a hand in her face and draining it. So by the time the WNBA season wrapped up, it was clear that leaving her home was a mistake. Not just a marketing mistake, but a basketball mistake. The discourse shifted from "she needs to wait her turn" to "how could you possibly leave the best playmaker in the world at home?" And the pressure was mounting. And it wasn't just coming from the fans anymore. It was coming from the data. Because let's talk about the elephant in the room that no coach wants to admit, but every executive knows is true, which is the money. Team USA is a dynasty, but dynasties are expensive, and they rely on visibility. And during the games where Clark was absent, the ratings were respectable, but they were nothing compared to the explosion of viewership every time the number 22 jersey stepped on the floor. So the networks noticed, and the sponsors, especially the big ones with swooshes on their checks, noticed. There was a report circulating that major partners were quietly furious about the missed opportunity to market Clark on the global stage in Paris. Because you have a generational talent who is bringing in millions of new eyes, and you leave her at home from a business standpoint, it was malpractice. This financial reality created a vice grip on the selection committee, and they could no longer hide behind basketball reasons because the basketball reasons were now arguing in Clark's favor, and the business reasons were screaming in her favor, which is where the tone of the coaching staff began to shift. You could see it in the mid-season interviews, where the same people who were dismissive of her in May were suddenly praising her vision and her pace in August. And it was a subtle pivot, a preparation for the inevitable because they knew they couldn't keep her out forever. So they had to start laying the groundwork to make her inclusion look like it was the plan all along. But that doesn't mean everyone is happy about it. Now we get to the core of the drama, which is Coach Cheryl Reeves' reaction. Because when the news became official that Clark was entering the Team USA mix for the upcoming events, Reeves' comments were fascinating to analyze, and on the surface it was standard coach speak, talking about Clark's growth, her acclimation to the pro game, and her undeniable talent. But if you listen closely to the phrasing, you can still hear the friction. There is a sense that the coach wants to make it very clear that Clark is earning this spot now, implying that she hadn't earned it before, which is a defense mechanism because to admit that Clark should have been there all along would be to admit a failure in judgment, and coaches at this level rarely admit they were wrong. Instead, the narrative is being spun that the time off was actually good for her, and that not playing in the Olympics saved her legs and allowed her to have that historic second half of the season, which is a convenient story, isn't it? Saying we did her a favor by snubbing her. But body language experts analyzing recent press conferences have pointed out a stiffness when the topic comes up. And there's a distinct difference in the way the staff talks about their veteran favorites, like Breanna Stewart or A'ja Wilson, versus how they talk about Clark, because with the vets there's warmth and shared history. But with Clark, it feels like a business transaction where they know they need her, but they don't have to like the fact that she has more power than they do. And make no mistake, Caitlin Clark has the power now, because she is the face of the sport. And the coach has to navigate a locker room where the rookie is the biggest star, which brings us to the most volatile part of the equation, the locker room dynamics, and how the veterans are going to react to Clark officially being the centerpiece. We all remember the comments from Diana Taurasi, "The reality is coming," warning that sounded a lot like a threat. And we saw the hard fouls, the face guarding, and the intense physical play directed at Clark all season long, which some called a welcome to the league, while others called it jealousy. Now, those same players have to share a bench with her, and they have to pass her the ball, and they have to watch as the media ignores their gold medals to ask Clark about her sneakers. which is a dangerous recipe for team chemistry. And it's the coach's nightmare to manage, because if the veterans freeze her out, the team fails. But if the coach caters too much to Clark, she loses the locker room. The official inclusion of Clark is a signal that the torch is being passed, but the old guard isn't ready to let go of it yet. And we saw glimpses of this tension in the All-Star game, where the chemistry between Clark and Angel Reese was actually better than her chemistry with the Team USA vets, which was a warning sign. The coach has to bridge this gap, and she has to convince the legends that Clark helps them win. Not just helps them sell tickets, but there is a suspicion that the hazing period isn't over. And in fact, now that she's on the national team, the practices might be even more brutal than the games, which is where the mental toughness of Clark will be tested more than her jump shot. Can she lead a team that might not want to be led by her is the big question. But let's look at why this move was inevitable from a pure basketball standpoint, stripping away the drama, because the world is catching up, and we saw it in the final game against France, which was way too close for comfort. Team USA won by a single point, literally inches away from losing the gold. And the gap has closed because the European teams are skilled, they are big, and they are not afraid. And the old style of simply overpowering teams with athleticism is fading. So you need elite shooting, and you need spacing, and you need playmaking that can unlock a zone defense, which is exactly what Caitlin Clark provides. She is the best floor spacer on the planet, and her range extends the defense to 30 feet, which opens up the paint for A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart. Because without Clark, the offense can get stagnant, relying on isolation scoring, but with Clark, the court opens up. The coaching staff, despite their pride, knows this, and they watched the tape of the France game, and they saw how stagnant the offense looked in the fourth quarter, and they know that in the next cycle, they might not survive another scare like that without an offensive engine like Clark. So while they might have personal feelings or loyalty to the older system, the fear of losing gold is a powerful motivator. Bringing Clark in isn't just a marketing move anymore. It's a survival strategy, just like the Dream Team needed Magic and Bird, but it also needed Jordan. And Clark is the new Jordan in this scenario, the engine that drives the car, even if the passengers are grumpy about the music she's playing. The transition, however, won't be seamless, so we have to expect some bumps in the road, because the coach has already hinted that Clark will have to fight for her minutes, which is code for, we aren't handing her the keys just yet, so expect to see Clark coming off the bench in her first few official appearances, and expect to see the coach riding her hard on defense in practice, because this is a test. They want to see if she will fold, or if she will dominate. And it's the classic Team USA methodology of breaking you down to build you up. But Clark is unique, because she doesn't need Team USA to be a star, because usually the national team is the pinnacle. But for Clark, she's already bigger than the brand, in many ways, which gives her leverage that no rookie has ever had. If the coach treats her unfairly, the public backlash will be 10 times worse than the Olympic snub, because the microscope is on Cheryl Reeve, and every substitution pattern, every timeout, and every quote will be dissected. So if Clark plays 5 minutes and sits, the internet will explode. And if the offense looks bad while she sits, the coach will be trending on Twitter within seconds. This is the new reality, and the official announcement didn't end the controversy. It just moved it from the outside to the inside, because the drama is now in the house. And what about the future lineup? Because imagine the possibilities of a potential backcourt of Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers in the near future. That is a duo that could rule international basketball for a decade. And the coach knows this. And she knows that, as great as Taurasi was, you can't fight Father Time. So the roster turnover is happening, and by bringing Clark in now, officially, they are starting. The clock on the next generation which is a signal to the rest of the world that the reload is happening. But it also raises questions about who gets cut next, because if Clark is in, someone else is out. And that conversation is going to be brutal, because there are loyal soldiers of USA Basketball who have given their summers for years, who are about to lose their spots to the phenomenon. And that breeds resentment. The coach is the one who has to deliver that news, saying, "Sorry, you're out, because we need the roster spot for the girl." Everyone is talking about, and it's a harsh business, so the reaction from the players who are on the bubble is silence. But it's a loud silence, because they are playing for their careers now. Clark's entry has raised the stakes for everyone, and practice intensity is about to go through the roof, because nobody wants to be the one replaced by the rookie. So where does this leave us? Well, we have a coach who is saying the right things, but has a history of skepticism, and we have a superstar player who has proven every doubter wrong and has the entire global fan base behind her. We have a team of veterans who are holding on to their spots for dear life, and we have the undeniable fact that Team USA needs Caitlin Clark more than she needs them. So the reaction from the coach is officially one of acceptance, but the subtext is one of reluctance, because they are welcoming her in because they have to. But now that she's inside the gates, the real game begins. This isn't just about basketball anymore, it's about control, and who controls the team, the legendary coach, or the transcending star. And the next few months of training camps and qualifiers will reveal the truth, because if the ball is in Clark's hands and the offense is flowing, we'll know the transition is complete. But if she's standing in the corner while the vets play, keep away, we'll know the war is still on. But one thing is certain, the snub is over, and Caitlin Clark has arrived. And whether the coach, the team, or the critics like it or not, the program now belongs to her, and the dynasty has been saved, but the cost was the ego of the establishment. And that is a price the fans are more than happy to see them pay. The era of 22 is officially underway for Team USA, and nothing will ever be the same again, which leads us to think about what happens next, when they actually step on the court. Because you have to wonder how the defensive schemes of other countries will change, knowing they have to guard her from the parking lot. The international coaches are probably terrified right now because planning for Team USA was already a nightmare. But planning for a Team USA that has a shooter who can hit from 35 feet is impossible, and it breaks every defensive rule in the FIBA handbook. And let's not forget the mentorship aspect, because, as much as we talk about the tension, there is also a chance for greatness here if the veterans decide to embrace her instead of fighting her. Because imagine what Clark can learn from the leadership of A'ja Wilson or the versatility of Breanna Stewart if they put their egos aside. This could be the passing of the torch moment that defines the next 20 years of women's basketball, just like when Kobe Bryant joined the Redeem team and learned how to be a leader from Jason Kidd and the others. So the potential for a positive outcome is there, but it requires humility from people who are used to being the alpha dogs. The coach is the architect of this culture, and if Cheryl Reeve can navigate these egos, she will go down as one of the greatest managers of talent in history. But if she fumbles it and the locker room fractures, it will be a stain on her legacy that no gold medal can wash away. The stakes have